is up, guys? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Very important live. It's going to be a quick one, but it's going to be very informative. And we want this to be spread far and wide. Again, welcome to the Transparency. This is for the Dr. Drake, Dr. Moore case out of Idaho. What you guys are looking at right here is, first of all, a timeline to make sure that's very clear on this timeline. So please take a look. The murder of Brian Drake was on 3/12/2020. Their botched investigation spanned from 3/12/2020 until 8/27/2020. Because on 8/27/2020, they would arrest Daniel Lee Moore. But it needs to be said and known that they had been watching Dr. Moore and zoning in on him well before that. But most importantly, they had written up search warrants for his property on the day before. So they would have never talked to an interview style Daniel Lee Moore. So before he could have falsely confessed on 8/27, on 8/26, they had already written up and got the search warrant signed by judges. Okay. Then the preliminary hearing was set for 11/2/2020. This is really important. The 911 call that Detective Van Leuven would put into evidence, what I have right here, added evidence. This supplement is drawn by Sergeant Mike Van Leuven for the purpose of adding evidence. The following items were added under this supplement. And this is what we care about for this stream. This exhibit is a compact disc containing 911 audio recordings of Jennifer Drake calling the Scrutiny and Bonner County 911 dispatch centers. Read that sentence a couple times. In here, nowhere to be found is it stated the chain of custody of obtaining these 911 calls. Again, the preliminary hearing was set for 11/2/2020. 11/8/2020, Jennifer Drake would file her wrongful death suit. 11/8, 11/16, something like that. 11/20, 11/8, something like that, like I said. But at 8/20, the night before the preliminary hearing, the 911 call is put into evidence at 8:20 p.m. How do I know that? Right here. This compact disc, audio 911 calls Scrutiny/Bonner. 11/1 at 8:26 p.m. It was just put in evidence for the first time. Now, preliminary hearing was on 11/2. Van Leuven put into evidence for the first time on 11/1/2020 at 8:26 p.m. Jen Drake's 911 calls. Where did he obtain these 911 calls? Van Leuven does not state where he went to get these discs or who sent them to him. Odd, right? How did he obtain these calls? Why was this 911 call pretended to not be listened to by anyone in law enforcement prior to the preliminary hearing? If you read between the lines, it would seem like that they just obtained these discs or this disc with calls on it, and that they're putting it in evidence, and that would be at 8:30 right before the preliminary hearing the next morning. No log of 911 calls, no chain of custody of the 911 calls. Odd, right? Now, how could the defense possibly have any of this? Well, they didn't. So then how are you stipulating as a lawyer to any of this in court? Well, you shouldn't be. Now, let's hear the 911 call that has no chain of custody and states very importantly that this exhibit is a compact disc containing 911 audio recordings. 911 audio recordings of Jennifer Drake calling the Scrutiny and Bonner County 911 dispatch centers. Does it say anywhere in there that these are the dispatch centers recordings?
911, what is the address of the emergency?
Oh my goodness, somebody please go to my husband. He's in Bonner's Ferry. He was on the phone with me and he just all of a sudden yelled out and said he thought he got shot, and then all of a sudden the phone went dead.
Okay, ma'am, I had a hard time understanding you, so can you take a deep breath and slow down for me? Because I couldn't understand what you said.
Okay, I need somebody to get up to this address at 6811 South Main Street in Bonner's Ferry, Idaho. I was just on the phone with my husband, and all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow, ow, and then all of a sudden he goes, I think somebody just shot through the window into my side. And then all of a sudden, the phone dropped, and it went dead.
He
wouldn't answer.
Boundary County?
Yes, he's in Boundary County.
Okay,
It's 11 South Main Street.
Hold on just a moment, okay? Hold on just a moment. Okay, I'm going to put you through to Bonner County. Okay, I want you to stay on the line. Don't hang up, and you need to explain that the emergency is at that location in Bonner's Ferry. Stay on the line.
Okay.
Stay on the line.
Hello?
Stay on the line.
911, what is the address of your emergency? Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street.
Okay, so then what would happen here is that this part of the recording, there's no more to it. Then there will be another one that he uploaded, which is this portion.
What is the address of your emergency? Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street.
Okay, 60. Okay, I understand. And now I couldn't understand what you said. Can you say the address again?
6811 South Main Street, Suite D. It's at Drake Chiropractic of North Idaho.
Okay, and what city is that in?
That's in Bonner's Ferry, Idaho.
Okay. Okay, you've reached Bonner County, so I've got to get you over to, okay, so bear with me for just 1 second. What's going on there?
Oh, I was on the phone with him, and he was fine, and then all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow! He goes, oh my gosh, I think I was just shot. Somebody just shot through the window into my side, and then all of a sudden he dropped the phone, and he wouldn't answer.
Okay. Hold on for me just a second, okay? Hold on. Is he conscious?
I think he may not be. If he was conscious, he would have called me back.
Are you able to do CPR on him?
I'm not there. I didn't. This is business up there. I'm 2 hours away.
This is Bonner County with a transfer for a possible gunshot at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B at chiropractor's office in Bonner's Ferry.
Yes.
Okay. And the caller is calling from 512-626-3618.
Yes.
She states that there was she spoke to a man who thinks that he just got shot, and then
I was on the phone with my husband.
And then he stopped talking to her. Okay. Go ahead, caller.
He just was on the phone talking. He just got done working. That's my husband. And all of a sudden he yelled, and he yelled, ow, ow. And I said, what's wrong? Something just hit me, something horrible. It's like a gunshot just hit my side. And then all of a sudden, it was like, and I kept yelling and trying to yell at him. I told him if he was conscious, he would have called me back.
Okay, yeah. What's the address there?
He is at 6811 South Main Street. Okay, he just got done working. That's my husband, and all of a sudden he yells, and he yells, ow, ow, and I said, what's wrong? Something just hit me, something horrible. I feel like a gunshot just hit my side, and then all of a sudden, it went like, and I kept yelling and trying to yell at him. I thought he was conscious, he would have called me back.
Okay, yeah. What's the address there?
He is at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B. It's Drake Chiropractic in North Idaho.
Okay, what's his name?
His name is Brian Drake. I'm his wife.
Okay, what's your name? What is your name, ma'am?
Jennifer.
Jennifer? Okay, Jennifer. I'm going to send people up there right now to check on him, okay?
Sorry.
I'm going to send people up there right now, okay?
Thank you. Do you guys call me back?
Of course. Is this a good phone number to reach you at the 512-626-3618?
Yes. Yes, please call me as soon as possible.
Okay, I will, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Then what would happen is something very, very interesting. Jennifer would receive a call back. So that phone call was, we have no idea what time, because this phone call is not in any of so the police extracted and did Cellbrite on Jennifer Drake's cell phone. And in that Cellbrite report, it would come back and show that Jennifer Drake never called 911 from her cell phone, number one. Also in her phone records, when she sat down with the law enforcement that took over Idaho State Police detectives, when she was with them, she showed them her phone and said, oh, I had made my 911 call from my cell phone. Oh, but it's not here. And that's when they asked if they could see her phone, and if they asked her and they got permission to download her phone, which then allowed them to get this extraction. In that extraction, it would come back and show that Jennifer Drake, in fact, from that phone, her cell phone, she, in fact, did not make that call. Now, dispatch cab notes show that there was two different 911 dispatches, one at 7:34 and one at 7:38. At 7:44, Jennifer Drake would receive a phone call from Boundary County Sheriff's Department. In an interview, Jennifer Drake tells them, look, my phone, they called me at 7:44. They were like, oh, medics are with him, but the sheriff needs, what's Brian's cell phone number? What's Brian's cell phone number? And Jennifer Drake says, I don't understand why they were calling me, telling me that medics were with him. They couldn't tell me anything else. They wouldn't tell me anything else. Just that medics are with him. But what's his cell phone number? And she said it made no sense to her. And she said, well, if you're asking me what his cell phone number is, then that means you can't get it out of him because he's not responsive. Well, the CAD notes show that at 7:44, medics were in fact not with Brian Drake. Medics did not get to Brian Drake until between 8:07, and then they cleared up out of there and had a report and talking on through dispatch at 8:16. They didn't even find Brian Drake until body cam would reveal that he was not found until 7:51 and 52 seconds, of which he was physically got to and stood over his body by police at 7:53 and 17 seconds based on body cam. So how and why would Jennifer Drake say that the medics were at and with her husband at 7:44? Now, these 911 calls, as you can hear, the first transfer over, the 911 call, the 911 dispatch does not stay on the line and say, hey, I have a transfer here, just like the girl did from Bonner County to then Boundary County when she transferred it. Okay. Very, very interesting. Then once I got reports that said that this 911 call was in fact not in Jennifer Drake's call history, nor was it in the extraction. Then I did a FOIA request on all the 911 calls that were made on 3/12/2020 to the Kootenai County Dispatch. And lo and behold, Kootenai County Dispatch said that there was no 911 call that existed. No 911 call that existed. That day from a Jennifer Drake. So much so, when that happened, I confirmed and called Bonner County Dispatch and spoke with Tiffany, the person that actually took this call. And she gave me very, very interesting information because she never thought it was a transfer to begin with. She thought that the towers were hitting off of the call, the person that was calling. So much so that when this all happened and that they found out there was a victim of a gunshot wound, Tiffany went ahead and called up the Kootenai County Dispatch woman, or tried to get in touch with this woman, and it's all in CAD notes and was all recorded calls, which I got my hands on. And in those recorded line-to-line calls, the woman from Kootenai County could not find the call that she had just transferred like within an hour ago. So my question to all of you guys out there, mainstream media, most importantly, is we have a wife that's saying she's making a 911 call. It's not in her call records. It's not with the dispatch records, right? So we have no idea what time this call, in fact, truly took place. We have a CAD note jumbled mess of when actually calls were coming through and who's being dispatched. But more importantly, we have Kootenai County saying that there is no 911 call that exists that this woman, or anybody for that matter, called for Brian Drake on that day. And then we have the lead investigator waiting till the last possible moment before a preliminary hearing was set to take place on 11/2/2020, where on the night before at 11/1/2020, the lead investigator slips in into evidence this added evidence on 11/1/2020. Does it show up? Let me make this bigger. So, and saying this was CD audio 911 calls 11/1/2020 at 8:26, and that he just got his hands allegedly like this. This is all he writes as the description, the narrative. This is a supplement drawn by Sergeant, he's a detective, he's a lead detective in this case, Mike Van Leuven. For the purpose of adding evidence, the following items were added under this supplement. Exhibit 135-001, a compact disc containing, so there's a CD that has 911 audio recordings of Jay Drake calling the Kootenai and Bonner County 911 dispatch centers. Well, actually, she also talked to Boundary County Dispatch Center. And there was also a call at 7:44. Where's that call? So why wouldn't this be entered into evidence, say, I don't know, within the week of the murder? Why wouldn't this be listened to by numerous officers during their investigation? How do you act like, because basically what this tells me is that where did these discs come from? Did you even listen to, it doesn't say, I listened to the recordings and placed them in, I got them from so-and-so, I met with so-and-so, so-and-so emailed me, the email is attached. Poof. And now this is 100% impossible. Kootenai County Dispatch is set to take the stand in this case, and you will hear Kootenai County Dispatch say these words. No 911 call exists in our records from a Jennifer Drake concerning a gunshot wound victim of that being Brian Drake. So where did Detective Van Leuven get this recording? This recording does not exist in the Kootenai County Dispatch records. And if you listen to the way that the transfer happens, the person that's allegedly the dispatcher of Kootenai County, who's going to be transferring the first transfer that happens, that person does not say, hey, this is Kootenai County. I have a transfer here from a woman that when she called 911, it sent it to us, but this needs to be handled up in Bonners Ferry. Well, guess what would have happened? Let me explain what would have happened. You wouldn't have sent the call to Bonner County because that's not where Bonners Ferry is. Bonners Ferry is actually in Boundary County. So when she gave you the address of the 6811 South Main Street, Bonners Ferry, why did you transfer it to Bonner County? You would transfer it to Boundary. Boundary County is where Bonners Ferry is located. But again, at no point in time does the Kootenai County, allegedly this is the dispatch person, we don't know, does she give instructions to say, I have a transfer here, like the woman did from Bonner County when she transferred her to Boundary County. I have a transfer here. Okay, I have a transfer here. It's okay, go ahead. So I want to know how Mike Van Leuven was able to obtain 911 audio recordings that have no chain of custody, no logs, where'd they come from, but more importantly, a FOIA request was sent because I brought this up to the defense of Dr. Daniel Lee Moore, and I said that this is not going to exist. There is no chain of custody. You need to find out where all this crap came from. And lo and behold, because after I got my FOIA request, I said, well, maybe there's some huge misunderstanding here. Nope. There is no 911 call that exists that Jennifer Drake made to Kootenai County Dispatch. So did Jennifer Drake record? Because now the other thing is that this 911 call, you would expect it to be all one call, right? All one call. It's not. It's not all one call. It's divided up into two different portions. The first one that I played for you, and then the second one. So I'll play it again so that you guys can now hear it after what I've said. It should be all one call. It's not. And there's actually the end recipient is Boundary County, but the beginning call begins allegedly at Kootenai County. But there is no evidence of any 911 call starting in Kootenai County. So where did this 911 call come from that he got literally at 8:30 and put into evidence the night before a preliminary hearing? And he's making it seem like he's never heard the 911 call based on this report that he put in. He would just have gotten it and put it into evidence. Does it say anywhere on there that he actually listened to the motherfucker? And I believe that he was going to be testifying that he didn't listen to it because it's that problematic. And this is how sketch this shit is. So, got my headphones on to hear this time. Perfect. Here we go. Okay, thank you for playing it again. I'm going to play it right now. Here you go. We're going to start with the first one first, obviously.
What is the address of the emergency?
Oh my goodness, somebody please go to my husband. He's in Bonners Ferry. He was on the phone with me, and he just all of a sudden
hard time understanding you, so can you take a deep breath and slow down for me? I couldn't understand what you said.
Okay. I need somebody to get up to this address at 6811 South Main Street in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. I was just on the phone with my husband, and all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow, ow, and then all of a sudden he goes, I think somebody just shot through the window into my side. And then all of a sudden, the phone dropped, and it went dead. He wouldn't answer.
Boundary County?
Yes, he's in Boundary County,
Okay, stay on the line.
6811 South Main Street.
Hold on just a moment, okay? Hold on just a moment. Okay, I'm gonna put you through to Bonner County, okay? I want you to stay on the line, don't hang up, and you need to explain that the emergency is at that location in Bonner Ferry. Stay on the line. Okay. Stay on the line.
Now listen, she doesn't say this is a transfer.
Stay on the line.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street.
Okay, boom, end. Because now here a different recording begins. Now, did you hear in the 911 call how she's saying that he was shot through the window? That's what her husband tells her, and she repeats it. But now I've shown ample evidence to show you guys that that shot did not happen from outside. It happened actually from inside, but that shot has nothing to do with her husband's death. Okay, but how does she even know that a window was shot out? Because that window has nothing to do with actually how he was shot and killed. So therefore she would know at the time that she made this 911 call of the ruse, of the staging and how they're going to stage this. She knew about it. Her husband was not shot through any window. But how did Jennifer Drake even know that the window was shot out? If she in fact had nothing to do with this, she would not know about the window. I'm just making sure I explain that to everybody. She would have no idea about this window being even shot out to be the staging unless she was part of the staging of it. Period. Here's call 2.
What is the address of your emergency?
Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street.
Okay, 60. Okay, I understand. And now I couldn't understand what you said. Can you say the address again?
6811 South Main Street, Suite B. It's at Drake Chiropractic of North Idaho.
Okay, and what city is that in?
It's in Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
Okay. Okay, you've reached Bonner County, so I've got to get you over to, okay, so bear with me for just 1 second. What's going on there?
Oh, I was on the phone with him, and he was fine, and then all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow! He goes, oh my gosh, I think I was just shot. Somebody just shot through the window into my side, and then all of a sudden he dropped the phone, and he wouldn't answer.
Okay, hold on for me just a second, okay? Hold on. Is he conscious?
I think he may not be. If he was conscious, he would have called me back.
Are you able to do CPR on him?
I'm not there. I'm in business up there. I'm 2 hours away.
This is Bonner County with a transfer for a possible gunshot at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B at a chiropractor's office in Bonners Ferry?
Yes.
Okay. And the caller is calling from 512-626-3618.
Yes.
she states that there was she spoke to a man who thinks that he just got shot, and then
I was on the phone with my husband.
And then he stopped talking to her.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller.
He just was on the phone talking. He just got done working. That's my husband. And all of a sudden he yells and he yelled, ow, ow. And I said, what's wrong? He goes, something just hit me, something horrible. It's like a gunshot just hit my side. And then all of a sudden it went like, and I kept yelling and trying to yell at him. I thought he was conscious. He would have called me back. Okay, yeah.
There's more. Now.
What's the address then? He is at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B. It's Drake Chiropractic in North Idaho. Okay, and what's his name? His name is Brian Drake. I'm his wife. Okay, what's your name? What is your name, ma'am? Jennifer. Jennifer? Okay, Jennifer. I'm going to send people up there right now to check on him, okay? Sure. I'm going to send people up there right now, okay? Thank you. Do you guys call me back? Of course. Is this a good phone to reach you at the 512-226-3618? Yes. Yes, please call me as soon as possible. Okay, I will, Jennifer. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Now, that's Jennifer Drake. That's now in total minutes that she was on the phone with Scrutiny County allegedly, and then on the phone with Bonner County, and then Boundary, okay, because they had to transfer again. So, basically 2 transfers, but three counties she dealt with allegedly. Okay. Now, during the time that these 911 calls, or it's like the length of it, right? During this 911 chaos, okay, Jennifer Drake's cell phone records would indicate that she attempted to call Brian Drake, her husband, from her cell phone that she is supposedly using to call 911. The phone records in my brain revealed, I was like, wait a second, this phone call right here where she's calling him at 7:32 in some odd seconds, I said, that's impossible. That's impossible based on when 911 call logs are saying that Jennifer Drake is on the phone with 911, because they're saying that she was the 729 caller, that she called 911 at 729. Well, it's just simple math when you take 729 and you add, 4.5 minutes to 729. Where's that going to put you? Way past 7:32 and some odd seconds. So I said, well, if this isn't another way to show that Jennifer Drake used a completely different cell phone number or cell phone period, because then she's using her, how was she able to call Brian Drake when she's on the line with 911? And his phone registers, and so does hers, this 7:32 phone call. Okay. So I'm over here just just given the defense exculpatory evidence after exculpatory evidence for Daniel Lee Moore. But I'm also inculpating Jennifer Drake. So my question to everybody is, what is Jennifer Drake's role in her husband's murder? Because Brian Drake was not shot through the door, the window. So then who started this theory? Who started the whole theory that Brian Drake was shot through the window? None other than Jennifer Drake. And what did police do? They make it seem like they didn't even listen to the 911 call until, or if ever, before the preliminary hearing. Right here, I got the proof. It's supplemental report 135, adding evidence in a murder investigation. And you're adding a 911 call to a murder investigation and never listening to the 911 call ever in your life, and adding it over 7 months later to a report. Fucking crazy, right? Right here, evidence. Showed it to you guys. And so who started this narrative that Brian Drake was shot through the window? His wife. His wife started it. His wife started that Brian Drake was shot through the window, a window that I've put out there and shown you guys that scientifically is going to be proven, and it has already been proven, that the gunshot came from inside out, and that if the gunshot came from inside out, well, it couldn't have been the bullet that killed Brian Drake, because that bullet was in that motherfucker still, because he's dead and there's a bullet in him, right? So, and there was no exit wound from Brian Drake's bullet. So it wasn't like Brian Drake was standing in front of the window and it went through him and his body and then went through the window. So that's out. It's because there was 2 gunshots, and it's exactly what the 911 caller said. And the witnesses said that they heard 2 gunshots. But it would be people like the cops changing reports and saying, no, there was only 1 gunshot. No, that's not what they said. Said that there was 2, and there was 100% 2, because there was a gunshot that killed the man. He's laying down. That was that bullet. But then there was the second one, which was the blowing out of the window to make this stage, to stage the crime scene. Now, how would Jennifer Drake know about the way the crime scene was going to be staged unless she was involved in the staging of the crime scene? And everyone's going to say, well, Jennifer Drake was in Hayden. She wasn't even there. Okay. Well, first of all, we don't know that. Because actually there's no proof of that. Because there's no records of Jennifer Drake ever calling 911 Kootenai County. So bye-bye to that. But that tells you that it was premeditated. That we have a plan. Not only we're going to kill Brian Drake, but how we're going to go ahead and do it to the point that we're going to say that he was killed. Because we don't want anybody looking into this, into thinking, what is Brian Drake involved in? Okay. No, this wasn't some jealous husband because my husband's a womanizer and cheating bastard. No, this isn't some drug thing because, but how do we make sure that nobody goes and looks that way? We have to make it about work. We have to make it about that somebody was stealing patients, okay? Because we can't have anything being looked into in terms of Brian Drake leading anybody to other things that were going on in what he was involved with the police, with his wife, with Eldora Gatchel. That stuff cannot be revealed, so we have to control the narrative. And this all leads to premeditation. Because Jennifer Drake couldn't, on the fly, decide to say, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and say that Brian told me that he was shot through a window. And then lo and behold, oh my God, wow, a window was shot through. Like, no. But the only sole evidence that the police went off of to continue on that narrative, and for a whole, like, almost day, like from, 7:53 when they found his body. ISP does not get involved until 9 a.m. when they get on scene the next day. So Marty Ryan and co. that are local have literally they have a window of time here from the time Brian Drake is found at 7:53 until 9 a.m. when ISP gets on scene to really kind of do whatever it is that they want to do without being seen. And so I have just never seen in my whole entire life that somebody can make a 911 call, somebody can just say things, tell the police that, oh, wow, look at my phone. The 911 call isn't in here. And then they do an extraction of her phone and they see, yeah, the 911 call isn't in her phone at all. She didn't even delete it. It's just not there. And then they go to try to all right, well, let's go ahead and get the Kootenai County records, and I'm sure the 911 call is going to be there. And then they go and do that, and it's not there. So then how does this detective end up with that phone call? Bonner County cannot be recording a call yet that they don't have, unless all of these dispatches are working together. But we know that that's not true because Tiffany, the dispatcher from Bonner, knew that something was up and called the Kootenai County dispatcher woman and was like, hey, we have to talk about this person that called in about an hour ago because there actually is a gunshot victim and he didn't make it. And so we have a murder on our hands or a homicide. And this woman was like, and that's all recorded. I've put it out once before. I guess I can put it out again. But mainstream media, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, you guys are like in love with 911 calls. I'm giving you the 911 call. How has nobody in Idaho, in that area, how has nobody played the 911 call and start scratching your head about it? When the dispatch woman from Bonner, the Tiffany woman who was like with it, when she called Kootenai County over the lines and it was recorded, she specifically asks this woman to pull up and look and find who this caller was, where they were located when they called, and she wanted to get information about this. And guess what the Kootenai County woman was doing on the other end? She couldn't find it. She could not find the call, but she admitted to taking the call. And so then I said, okay, Jennifer Drake, what's your connection with? Who is going to be possibly over there going to be admitting that they took a call from this woman, but they're going to have to admit that they didn't actually run a trace locate, because then that would be in the system. Because it was the Kootenai County dispatch person that said, oh, well, I know that it was a Hayden call because I ran a trace locate on it. And the call was from a cell phone that was in the area for a long time. This is what this woman is saying. But yet the Tiffany woman's like, well, then thinking to herself, well, why can't you locate the call? She's like, I can't find it here. I wonder if I could look it up this way. And so they're talking back and forth on this recorded line that I have. It's recorded, I have. And this is all exculpatory. Like, is even more so now than ever when it's going to come out that anybody that's going to testify to that window and how if it was shot out from the inside or outside, I believe even ISP is going to have a hard time trying to go against experts in the field of ballistics and crime scenes. And they're going to look like fools if they try to say that that gunshot came from outside in. But here's mainstream media in Idaho. I've contacted them. So should we just call up on the phone? Should we just call up on the phone and ask, 9B News? Isn't that it? 9B News? Like, where are you? See if I can get a number here on 9B News. 9B News. Phone contact. Why are you letting Jennifer Drake lie? You guys want a 911 call? Like, what's going on here? 9B News Bonner's Ferry followers on Facebook. Okay. Mike Whelan, that's who I want to talk to. Mike Whelan, I think that's his name. Whelan, yeah, Mike Whelan, that's who I want. Mike Whelan, how do I contact you? He worked for News Bonner's Ferry, Kootenai Valley Times, and now is the publisher of 9B Media. June of 2021, so you actually didn't work for them in 2020. You were at the Kootenai Valley Times, and you're still with them. So you do both, 9B Media and Kootenai Valley Times. Okay, great. Coot Valley, perfect. And 9B Media. All right, let's call. I just want to simply give you the 911 call, and you play it, and you tell me what you think. Because you cannot be a one-sided, okay? And the only reason, guys, those of you guys that are new to this case, the only reason I got involved in this is because it was the same investigators in the Idaho 4 case, and I discovered that. So I found this case, and then I found Jennifer Drake reaching out to the community. And I'm going to play that for you guys. Okay, so here we go. Jennifer Drake going public, wanting the media's help, wanting the public's help when she does. Okay. Now Jennifer Drake flipped out because there's another Jennifer Drake. And she's like, that's not me. I should show that one. She put up a $10,000 reward for information to find her husband's killer. And I found a ton of information that I think would lead to it. So okay. I'm gonna have to go with this. Yeah, this is Creme. Creme did it. I'm sorry. Here we go. So I'll play what Creme did. You need to. Share this reward.
New at 6 o'clock this Sunday marks 3 years since the chiropractor Dr. Brian Drake was shot and killed through his office window. Tonight, his killer is still out there and his family seeking justice. They launched a Justice for Brian Drake campaign, which offers a $10,000 reward for any information that leads to his arrest. These billboards will be on I-95 south-facing in hopes that someone to come forward with any information. For tip line number and email, head to our website, nonstoplocal.com.
Crime Tracker alert tonight. Police in Nez Perce County are looking
That's
for
all
a
they
man
said.
convicted of stalking.
That's all they said on that one. Now let's go to another one where they do a little bit more because Jennifer speaks. So let's show Jennifer speaking about this. Where is she? Did I play it in this one? Okay, there we go. Maybe it's this one. I don't want to read it. I want it to be the one that plays. Come on, Creme. Pick it up. Pick up your ways of... Okay, this will be it. Close out. No, that's definitely not it. Hold on. Jeez. Again, it should not be this difficult. No wonder nobody can help poor woman out. I think I'm going to have to just go to one of my old videos. March 9th, 2023. That's when it launched, March 9th, 2023. It's gotta be this one. Oh, wait, no, that's not this one. Hold on. I'm just trying to go to one of mine. I know that I have it in one of my videos. It's amazing. God. No legs. Yeah. Favorite 911 call ever. All of a sudden, and higher and higher. All of a sudden, this is what we have here. That's funny. God, wait. Where? This is all that they have. God, what is wrong with these people? This is good. This is the other thing that I wanted to play, so I'll at least play this one first. Here we go.
Accused of shooting and killing a fellow chiropractor suffered a brain injury when he was arrested last week, and that's according to his lawyer. Daniel Moore appeared before a judge in Bonners Ferry this morning, and he was arrested last week and charged with shooting and killing a man back in March. Moore is a chiropractor from Bonners Ferry, and the man he's accused of shooting was a chiropractor in town as well. Authorities haven't said why they believe Moore killed the man, but court documents say the victim was shot in his back through a window. The man died in his office, and this morning, Moore's lawyer expressed concerns that he was questioned by police after that brain injury. A judge then granted a request for Moore to be transported to a local hospital to receive an evaluation.
So they immediately, without anybody talking to Jennifer Drake, with anybody supposedly listening to this 911 call, right? They just said, yeah, he was shot through a window, through the back. But the autopsy would say otherwise. He was not shot. He was shot the cops say that he was shot at a downward angle through the window, and the autopsy says opposite. He was actually shot at an upward angle, so that just totally blows up that he was sitting down, crunched over, again, just absolute wild shit. But how I even got onto this was because of the Idaho 4 case, looking up these detectives, because I want to know what cases they were involved in prior to the Idaho 4 case. And I came across Twiddledee and Tweedledum and this story, and I'm like, this is absolutely crazy. And the reason they didn't release why they thought that Moore killed Drake was because they were not ready to release their big old motive, which was stealing patients. 30 patients. Oh my God. Oh, it's sick. So here, so the wife, Jennifer, does in March, she does Jennifer Drake does a special where she wants to give away $10,000 to anybody that brings her information on who killed her husband. She already knows who did it, but she said she just needs more information. So rather, it's just more. And Krem did let her do the story. Krem to let's see. I have to go to let's go to their channel. Brian Drake, a neighbor. can't believe it. They're not. I wonder if they pulled this video. Did they pull the video? Oh my God. I'm going to definitely have to go to my stuff. They may have pulled the video. This is wild. Hold on. Let me go to my own channel then. Let me look up. This playlist. If they took that video down, I will die. Like, come on, man. It could be this one. All right, then it's in my pilot, so I can play the pilot then. Fuck it. All right, got it. Here it is, guys. Sorry for the delay. I wanted to play it straight from theirs, but it's pretty much straight from theirs. All right. This is Jennifer Drake doing her thing. And so this is on my episode, my pilot for this case.
Is intended to show only that there is sufficient probable cause for the requested warrant and does not set forth all of my knowledge about this matter. I have set forth only the facts necessary to support a finding of probable cause and any facts that would lead the court to not find probable cause on the charges. My knowledge of the facts set forth in this act
To Idaho Supreme Court, which ruled by a district court to be coerced. However, prosecutors appealed and the fight went to Idaho Supreme Court, which dismissed various parts of the argument.
The end result is that charges could be refiled against Moore, but as of tonight, there was no one facing criminal charges for the death of Dr. Drake.
The investigation into what happened that March evening is ongoing, and now the Drake family is getting creative to try to generate new tips and leads.
And they tell her, help me, Haley, they want justice. They will stop at nothing to get it.
Small town community, closely knit.
Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
We've got a lot of family-oriented people, a lot of people that attend local churches.
The address for about 2,500, home of the Badgers. Nestled along the Scrutiny River, the Selkirk Mountains almost serving as protectors from evil until they couldn't.
How did you find out what happened? I was on the phone with him when it happened.
Just like the community where murder victim Dr. Brian Drake would launch his successful chiropractor business. His wife says he was wholesome, a man of God, loved music and family.
He was amazing. We had it all. We really did.
Brian and Jennifer married in '99. Love at first sight.
Oh, it was.
Was it?
Yes, we met at church.
Brian's career took them to Montana, Texas, and finally North Idaho, welcoming babies along the way.
We have 4. We have 3 boys and a girl. Very few people ever win the lottery like I did.
They had hit that sweet spot in life by the time Brian, Dr. Drake, opened up his own office along this stretch of Main Street in Bonners Ferry.
A great chiropractor, as opinion from his wife.
But also his patients.
Very compassionate. He helped me out a lot.
She didn't want her face on camera.
Why?
Who could blame her after what happened on March 12th, 2020?
He was an innocent man who... I'm sorry. that it was killed at the end of a business workday.
While on the phone with his wife.
It's a memory of sitting next to my daughter when it happened, and I'm the one who had to call 911.
Responding officers found her husband of 21 years executed as he sat at his desk.
He did not know. It was behind him. Somebody shot him in the back through a window, and by the time he realized what had happened, the next step was unconsciousness.
A space once dedicated to healing turned the first murder scene in city limits since the early 1960s. And despite, as Jennifer calls it, diligent police work, 3 years later, the case remains open, in desperate need of perhaps you.
We really are hoping that somebody will come up with some more information to substantiate what we already know.
Billboards like this one along 95 are trying to appeal to whoever that could be.
We have a $10,000 reward.
Brian's face, front and center, a some 672 square foot reminder to the public of what already consumes Jennifer's mind.
As the saying goes, for evil to triumph, good men do nothing. And I believe that we owe it to my husband, and not just my husband, but my children and the community at large. That something is done.
Haley Gunther.
I will fight for closure, and I will fight for justice.
You guys, did you just hear that?
On March 12th, 2020, Dr. Drake had spent the day seeing patients.
So you guys can catch this whole episode that was put together, but this, look at what's right there, guys. Look at the vehicle.
And despite, as Jennifer calls it, diligent police work, 3 years later, the case remains open, in desperate need.
That's the patrol vehicle that's seen on the camera. Thank you.
Of perhaps you.
We really are hoping that...
See, they were reaching out for me, okay? You guys, they wanted me to help, so I'm helping. So let's go back one more time. I want to hear it from the beginning. Jennifer's just out.
However, prosecutors appealed, and the fight went to Idaho's Supreme Court, which dismissed various parts of the
Where's my
argument.
10K? Where's my 10K?
The charges could be refiled against Moore, but as of tonight, there was no one facing criminal charges for the death of Dr. Drake.
The investigation into what happened.
Okay, so how are they not taking what I've done? They think that Dr. Moore's going to be refiled for charges. Are you kidding me? There may be some charges. They ain't going to be for him. Diligent police work. She says that there was diligent police work. So here you guys can see Jennifer Drake asked for my help. I come out and I do my job. I just want my 10K. I mean, she's got a mill. She can give me 10K. And that, guys, it's like a big joke. Like, people don't realize that I'm joking. I didn't do this for the 10K. Okay. But I truly thought that this woman wanted to find out who killed her husband. Then I started investigating this case and I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. What woman would ever put a spotlight on herself knowing what she has done? Which is, she's the one that said that Brian Drake was shot through the window, which he was not shot through the window scientifically. Like, I get a phone call from somebody saying, all you care about is that $10,000. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? But trust me, I go work somewhere and do something else. Like, the amount of time I put into this, yeah, no. But legit, I laugh when people write me that. You're just doing it for the $10,000 reward. Piss on that. No one's getting that $10,000 reward. Okay? And trust me, if anybody does, it's because of my work. So then it's plagiarism.
That March evening is ongoing, and now
She's
the
laughing.
family is getting
She's
creative
laughing.
to try to generate new tips and leads.
And they tell her, help me, Haley. They want justice.
She's
They'll stop at
laughing.
nothing to get it.
She's laughing.
Small town community, closely knit.
Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
Got a lot of family-oriented people, a lot of people that attend local churches.
The address for about 2,500, home of the Badgers.
Home of the Badgers. Who's this guy, though? Like, come on, man. He looks like he just got off a Harley.
People, a lot of people that attend local churches.
The address for about 2,500, home of the Badgers.
It's more than that. That's 3,500.
Nestled along the Kootenai River, the Selkirk Mountains almost serving as protectors from evil until they couldn't.
How did you find out what happened? I was on the phone with him when it happened.
Just like the community where murder victim Dr. Brian Drake would launch his successful chiropractor business. His wife says he was wholesome, a man of God, loved music and family.
He was amazing. We had it all. We really did.
Brian and Jennifer married in '99. Love at first sight.
Oh, it was.
Was it?
Yes, we met at church.
Brian's career took them to Montana, Texas, and finally North Idaho, welcoming babies along the way.
We have 4. We have 3 boys and a girl. Very few people ever win the lottery like I did.
The
They
$1
had
million
hit that sweet
payout.
spot in life by the time Brian
Calling 9 to 13 times to life insurance is definitely hitting the $1 million lottery.
Dr. Drake opened up his own office along this stretch of Main Street in Bonners Ferry.
A great chiropractor, as opinion from his wife.
But also his patients.
Very compassionate. He helped me out a lot.
She didn't want her face on camera. Who could blame her after what happened on March 12th, 2020?
He was an innocent man who... Sorry. Who was killed at the end of a business workday.
While on the phone with his wife.
It's a memory of sitting next to my daughter when it happened, and I'm the one who had to...
Jennifer, I have a question for you. What'd you do with your daughter when you left to go drive up to Bonners Ferry with Amber Van Ling? Who had your daughter? Where was your daughter at? After, you had to just get in the car and drive up to Bonners Ferry. Where was your daughter? Did she drive with you? That's going to be a bad one for you to answer in court, honey. Lana blew that the fuck out of the water. Jennifer Drake lying. Were you on your couch? Were you in your living room or were you in your bedroom? How many different stories have you given now? Do you not recall? Because this is like, the way that you say it, Jennifer, it's like, this is a memory you will never forget. I was sitting next to my daughter. What was that again?
March 12th, 2020.
He was an innocent man who... Sorry.
Wait, was that your left hand, Jennifer? You have your wedding ring still on or no? You still wear your wedding ring? Now, would that be an inverted video right there? Isn't that Jennifer Drake looking at the camera, itching her nose, like with her? Isn't that her left hand?
Sorry. Who was killed at the end of a business workday.
While on the phone with his wife.
It's a memory of sitting next to my daughter when it happened, and I'm the one who had to call 911.
Responding officers found her husband of 21 years executed.
You guys saw my video yesterday. What was the cop car that I showed you guys?
And who had to call 911.
Responding officers found her husband.
What was... Oh shit! This is wild, right? This came out March 2023.
And of 21 years executed as he sat at his desk.
He did not know it was behind him.
He did not know it was behind him. It was behind him. He did not know it was behind him.
Shot him in the back through a window.
Somebody shot him in his back through the window. And now I've showed you guys exactly that, those crime scene photos. Nobody was sitting at that desk and got shot through any window in the back. In fact, the autopsy, Jennifer, which you know that you had already at this point, the autopsy, the ME, says that that's not what happened. In fact, that Brian Drake was shot at an upward angle, Jennifer. You know this because you have the autopsy. You know this because you have the discovery. And so you got out here and you lied like the ME's findings and the autopsy findings 100% prove that what the cops have said is not possible based on the path of travel for the bullet, and based on the window being blown out from inside out. Your husband couldn't have been shot through any window. And you're the only one that said it. You're the one that put that out to the world when you called 911, because 911 calls are public. And you knew that he wasn't shot. You're lying.
And by the time he realized what had happened, the next step was unconsciousness.
Listen to her. She's just narrating. But so an ME is going to get up on that stand also and say that Brian Drake was not incapacitated right away. He wasn't unconscious right away. So you think that he had enough time to say to you, like, oh, I've been shot through the window. And you didn't say, oh my God, what? Go call the police. Or did you say, oh, stay on the phone with me, I'll call the police, and you just never did? But this is so bad. So bad. Why did she come out and put this out here? Like, what is she thinking? And so when someone says to me that this isn't about greed, this is 100%. You want more information so that you can, like, listen to what she says here. She already knows who killed her husband. That's what she says. Listen.
A space once dedicated to healing turned the first murder scene in city limits since the early 1960s. And despite, as Jennifer calls it, diligent police work, 3 years later, the case remains open, in desperate need of perhaps you.
We really are hoping that somebody will come up with some more information to substantiate what we already know.
Billboards like this one.
Substantiate what we already know. Who's we? Who's we already know? Are you investigating this case? Are you part of the police department? Who's we? So what you already know, meaning that we already know that it's Dr. Moore. We just need more. Why do you need more information? I thought this investigation was so, like, you have this whole discovery and it all points to Moore, right? No, it's because you don't have dick against Moore, except for a coerced confession, okay, because he was threatened that they were going to go after his son. But the evidence doesn't match the confession. And that's the number one sign of a false confession, is when your evidence doesn't match the confession. Because Dr. Moore saying he shot Brian Drake through a window because that's what they told him to say, because that's what they said happened. And so he's just repeating that after he asked for a lawyer 8 times. And I have one question for you. Jennifer Drake, do you know what the Innocence Project is? Do you know that there's people that actually confessed to crimes and the Innocence Project through DNA exonerated them? So you can't be that ignorant to say that you don't know what a false confession is and you've never heard one. So isn't it possible that Dr. Moore falsely confessed, especially when the evidence that he said happened, that doesn't even match the crime scene that you staged with the help of others and that I've proven? Where's your 911 call, Jennifer? How about you take the link right here and you just, hey, you want a platform to talk about things? Here you go. Here's the link. Copy. And you can just tell me and everybody else that you didn't take screenshots of your husband's Life 360 app and your Life 360 app the day after the murder and lie to the police about it. How about that? There you go. Anybody from Idaho, I'd be happy to hear from you. But I think it's very interesting that if a woman comes out here and says she wants all this information, that I'm trying to contact and provide you guys with all this information, and why doesn't the news want it? I'm giving receipts on it. I'm giving you the damn 911 calls, for heaven's sakes. I'm giving you police reports. What the fuck are you guys doing over there? Well, I'm about to just go find out because I'm going to Idaho. And I'm just going to go, hey, is this, hey, 9B News, you guys wanted a story, right? Okay, here you go. What do you need? What can I help you with? Because you seem to be lost. So I want to help you. I don't want anything in return. If you want me to come on your channel and interview, sure, fine. But what's the hang up here? Why aren't we covering this case? What do you need? Hopefully it's 9 Action News right now. Okay. What do you need? What do you want out there? Everybody wants the 911 call, so it's out there. Why aren't you playing it? So I'll be there for a week. You guys want to have some lunch? You know what? We're going to go. You guys can meet me at the White Rose. Now, we can't have phones in there, guys. All right. I know Eddie. Eddie came in here. Eddie, you want to meet me at the White Rose? You want to see who can pull more dick and ass? I'll bet you. I'll bet you a steak. That even in a backwards hat, I can pull more ass than you. How about that, Eddie? Eddie, get on with your bad self. Come on, Eddie. Don't you have something better to do? With a name like Eddie. Eddie Betty. Presumed hostile. This is a hostile environment in here. Lana's coming for everybody. When you're ignorant, you're ignorant. Where's DMC? I know. DMC needs to see this. Anyways, Jennifer Drake is clearly lost her mind, but she put up a $10,000 reward, and I want to know where my $10,001 bills are so that I can go blow them in a strip club when I'm here.
Along 95 are trying to appeal to whoever that could be.
We have a 10,000.
You guys, I've called the tip line. I haven't gotten a call back. But that has to be in discovery now because I called that tip line. I gave them some tips, just the tip, actually, Eddie, if you're still here. What's the background on her ex-fiance that mysteriously passed? Well, I was contacted about that. And I said that may be for another day. But what I really want to focus on is Jennifer's statements to local law enforcement. And then I want to focus on Jennifer's statements to the Idaho State Police. And I want to know why the Idaho State Police are perfectly fine with Jennifer Drake lying to them. I don't understand how any cop is okay with somebody lying to them. And this woman lied to you. Isaac Funderburg lied. And now maybe Isaac Funderburg, in the sense, didn't lie because he was confused about how many times he went over to that area of the building. But were Jennifer Drake's sons home when Jennifer Drake left to go up to drive to Bonners Ferry? That's going to be another awesome question. Jennifer Drake, you had Life 360. Did you have your family on that Life 360, or was it just you and your husband for you to stalk him literally 24/7? And were you aware, Jennifer, that your husband would shut off his locations for that device so that you couldn't stalk him when he was in Bonners Ferry? How about that? Donna, I have 4 security guards, and they are sexy. Meow. I'm going to be on a boat I'm going to be up in Sandpoint boating with 22-year-olds that went to school at Moscow. So I have the best bodyguards. You can find me laying. I'm on a boat. I'm going to play that song by T-Pain over and over. Yes. I got some work to do in Idaho. I got some people that want to sit down and talk to me. They want to give me some very, very, very helpful information. Information that I think will, without a doubt, exonerate Dr. Moore. Like, can you imagine being labeled in the town that you've given it all to, a murderer? Who do people think that you are? Like, Enon's going to bring his cat, definitely going to protect me. But I think it's crazy. I dropped the link and people don't want to take the link and show their faces and make themselves known, but they have no problem running their mouths. So I don't know why people that are cops of new police officers that have nothing to do with this case are ranting on social media like a bunch of fucking wild banshees. Well, let me tell you what that happened. That happened in Massachusetts. It didn't pan out too well for those for those that are supporting their husbands blindly, because then you physically are going to be supporting them, like financially, physically, going to have to get to it. Because we got officers left and right losing their jobs in Massachusetts over fuckerage, corruption, bad police work. I got 4 witnesses. They want to speak about the cameras at the building next to Dr. Drake's building. And they want to provide me with their 2020 devices that they have, where they have screenshots, they have text messages, they have pictures, they have proof that that camera was working on the night of the murder. How do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? How are you going to be able to deny that proof that the cameras were physically working and recorded things the night of the murder, and that there was literally a camera that showed the drive-through right where Dr. Drake was killed, right? Supposedly, right? Dr. Drake was killed because somebody went up to that window and shot him through there, right? Well, guess what? The reason they had to bury that camera is because there was nobody that shot anybody through that window. So they're like, they'd be like waiting, and oh my God, there's nobody that walks up and shoots Dr. Drake through a window. So we have a problem here, don't we? No, we'll just say they didn't work. And they were just like, for show. Who has a gun store, doesn't have cameras, or does rather, and says that they're for show, and they don't record? That's just stellar. Get on over to the Outfitters in the far north Outfitters, guys. Steal whatever you want over there because their cameras don't work. Just wild shit.
$1,000 reward.
Brian's face, front and center, a some 672 square foot reminder to the public of what already consumes Jennifer's mind.
As the saying goes, for evil to triumph, good men do nothing. And I believe that we owe it to my husband, and not just my husband, but my children and the community at large.
We owe it to the community at large. Those words are going to make it so that and it should be, the community has a strong interest in this case, and I believe that the community should be able to watch the streaming of the trial of the Moore Drake huge civil suit here in the wrongful death. So Dr. Moore he's not facing any criminal charges right now, but Jennifer Drake, back when he was facing charges, she filed in November of 2020 a wrongful death suit. It got stayed. Then the Moore's past attorney decided to do some fuckerage, but let the stay be lifted when it had no business being lifted because the criminal case technically wasn't taken care of. But then in the past recent couple months, Jennifer Drake said to herself and her attorneys that, hey, you know what? I want to go for punitive damages. We didn't write that on our first complaint. And now I want to do for punitive damages, which is to go for way more money than she was, at the time. And very interesting when you're going to sit here and tell me that you don't think something's financial. And yet Jennifer Drake then all of a sudden, just a couple months ago, there was a summary judgment that came out. There was some other things that have come out. But Jennifer Drake 100% is now going for punitive damages. And that means you're going after money. Okay. So nobody's going to sit here and tell me that this is not money motivated, that Jennifer Drake is not money motivated. In fact, Jennifer Drake's whole life has been about money, in which she's made none. And her husband made it all until Jennifer got herself into a huge fucking pile of shit about 6 months before Brian Drake was murdered, of which I can prove that we have some. Jennifer Drake has to answer a lot of questions on a lot of money that was coming through an account of hers that the police just somehow said, who gives a fuck? Who cares that Jennifer Drake, nowhere, no how, has never been making this type of money in her life, is all of a sudden just getting thousands of dollars? Where's this money coming from? What is it for? And why is it right before her husband is fucking taken out in a murder case? But that's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Look the other way. And you know what the cops did? The cops just did nothing. The cops didn't even ask her about it. In fact, the cops didn't even go and try to if this was any other case, the first person that's a suspect is the wife, or vice versa, the husband. But Jennifer Drake somehow is just completely passed on over, and even though none of her story has panned out at all, and how does a jury find Daniel more, like, how does the jury find for Jennifer Drake in this situation for a wrongful death suit? Okay. Wrongful death suit. You have to prove beyond the preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt, because it's different standards. But Jennifer Drake and her attorneys are going to have to prove beyond the preponderance of the evidence that Dr. Moore is the man responsible for her husband's death, and that the jury has to come back and, with the evidence that's presented, that it's beyond the preponderance of it, the evidence, without there being a criminal trial and without any evidence ever being seen anywhere in a criminal trial, that Dan Moore is the one who killed her husband. How do we do that? How is Jennifer Drake going to go about that? Is Jennifer Drake going to just lay on the thorn of, he confessed to it? He confessed to it. He confessed to it, therefore he must be. Well, if you were on the jury, I mean, we just went over this case. We went over a case, the jurors. What is the jury going to do? If you're just, the only evidence you have against somebody is somebody's confession that was ultimately thrown out because their Miranda rights were violated 8 times, and asking for a lawyer. But then you find out that during the course of this presented case, that Dr. Moore confessed to something that didn't happen. So when that comes out, that, well, Dr. Moore said he shot Brian Drake through a window, right? But Brian Drake wasn't shot through any window, and it's proven that Brian Drake wasn't shot through any window. As a juror, what type of weight does that hold? And I would agree with you, V. Unfortunately, people put a lot of stock into a confession, even if it's false or never made, etc. You know, I hit him. Example, right? So it'll be interesting to hear a jury say to themselves, well, why didn't they just, like, what evidence are they going to present in this case that they're not presenting in a criminal case against Dr. Moore, to, like, have him arrested for murder, and we're going to go forward with a murder trial, second-degree murder. Presumed hostile. How did that happen? False confession. Well, according to my sources, we played the false confession, but he asked for a lawyer a bunch of times. They wouldn't give him a lawyer. Then he asked to use the restroom. 45 minutes later, they let him go use the restroom. Then Marty Ryan went into the restroom with him, who's the assistant police chief. And while they were both taking a leak and pissing, taking a little tinkle, Marty Ryan said, we're serving a search warrant right now at your house, and we found a gun in your son's room. And so you just do the right thing. And so we don't got to go do what we got to go do. Ultimately threatening to what? Pin this on his son? That's how somebody took that. Where did the 2 911 call files come from? Well, that's a mystery. My family is going to have to answer that one day, because that's the number one question you have to ask. Where did you get these 911 calls, and why were they put into evidence on the eve of the preliminary hearing, which was, like, I don't know, 7 months out from the actual murder? Did you even listen to this shit? Holly says, I completely understand about the false confessions. I get that many cannot get past it, right? And is there going to be evidence presented, like how do you overcome that, even if you have an expert, which I believe that they're going to probably have a false confession expert to talk about that. But Dan, everybody's forgetting this. Dan Moore has an alibi witness. Dan Moore was physically with the coroner at the time that Brian Drake was murdered. The other thing is that they have in this false confession is that Dan Moore committed this murder at 7:26. Well, fucking Brian Drake was not killed at 7:26. That's going to come out, that Brian Drake was killed well before 7:26. So Dan Moore has an alibi witness. He was with the coroner, and the coroner has a pager because he has to be on call for anything that happens. So he has a pager and he has a scanner, and his alibi witness is Mick Millett, the coroner. And his alibi witness said that, wait a second, I know exactly where Dan was that day. He was with me at my house, and he was there when that call came in. He was there when the page came in. He was there when the call came in. And he was there at my house. He didn't leave until after that page came in. And maybe that's why the CAD notes are all in disarray order. And then Mick Millett took a lie detector. He passed a polygraph. Breaking news. You heard here first. Dan Moore's alibi witness passed the polygraph, said, I will take a polygraph. He is the town coroner. Passes a polygraph. And then they still couldn't get their rocks off with not moving on past Moore. So much so that they said, no, Dr. Moore also tried to commit suicide. What? That's crazy. And they asked that man, that Mick Millett man out there, Mick Mallet, whatever it is, asked him, is Dan Moore like suicidal? Like, he's like, what? He's like furthest thing from it. Like, of anybody, that's the last person you'd ever say is somebody that was, down in the dumps or whatever, do something like that. Blame a natural gas leak, saying that Dan Moore, like, wild shit, right? So, I mean, when you, like, this trial deserves to be played for everybody to see it, because it is going to be crazy. You want to talk about conspiracy theorists? Well, Bonners Ferry Police and Idaho State Police, they're conspiracy theorists. The concocted up story that they've created for this murder is insanity. What they say that Dr. Moore did. I mean, he killed over 30 patients. He killed because Dr. Drake was stealing his patients, which financially showed that that's not right, because Dr. Drake wasn't making any money, number one. But number two, there were no patients that were doing that left more to go to him because of whatever. So they can't even prove that as the motive. But more importantly, they're saying they're going to sit in front of a jury and tell a jury that we believed that Dan Moore attempted suicide because of the guilt after he killed Dr. Drake on Thursday, that he attempted suicide on that Sunday. And he did it through a natural gas leak. That they're going to then have another witness come on, who's the Avista. I actually talked to Avista. I talked to the legal division of Avista and informed them. Did you know that one of your employees is on the witness list for an upcoming huge civil wrongful death suit? And this woman was like, what? I was like, you didn't know that Brian Scrimshire is on the list for a huge case? And she's like, no, oh my God, can you give me all this information? And I gave it all to her. I said, what can I help you with? I will give you whatever you want. I said, I cannot believe that somebody's being put down as a witness in this high profile of a case, and this guy has not been talked to by the plaintiff. The plaintiff hasn't talked to one of her lead witnesses. And for the record, they might want to, because he's not going with that story. That's not happening. He said, in fact, they're going to have to do a lot of explaining as to why the lead detective, Van Leuven, is misquoting him everywhere. He specifically said that he never talked to Dan Moore. And if Dan Moore can't smell, then yeah, somebody could easily get knocked out from natural gas and not be, if you didn't smell it, then, but if you don't have a sense of smell, and Van Leuven just totally, writing down different things in reports, totally taking things the wrong way. So there is a trial date, and it is set. It's January, what is it? I don't know. Like January 25th through February. It's a 2-week trial. So I think it's January 25th or January 23rd. 2025. It's going to be off the chizzies. It's going to be off the hook. Jennifer Drake better be careful. I'd be like, let's just end this. I don't want to be going to prison. Oh, that natural gas worker. Yeah. Yeah, the plaintiff thinks that they're calling him as a witness. Can I get a witness? And then the other person they're going to be calling is the firefighter and the fire chief. Dave, I call him Dave Winey. I don't give a shit what his last name is. Dave W. We'll call him Dave W. Well, ironic enough, the first time that Dave W. was ever interviewed for the Brian Drake case, which had nothing to do with Brian Drake, they only interviewed Dave Winey to talk about this gas leak that happened at Dr. Moore's building on the March 15th date. And this guy is supposed to have this recording interview. And then all of a sudden Van Leeuwen says, oh, I don't know why it didn't record. We had a technical error. And that's in his report, a technical error. And that the police, or the fire chief's interview was not recorded because of a technical error. The only time in all of in the whole case that you can find those words, oh, we thought we were recording the interview, but then realized at the end that it didn't record because of a technical, we had a technology error. And this guy, supposedly the fire chief, said that he's never witnessed anything like this in his life, and he thinks something is up because he was there for 2 hours and determined that gas loose fitting, it was intentionally loosened because it was just finger tight, and somebody, according to him, and Brian Scrimshire intentionally loosened it. But somebody did that. But there's no tools down that they found, and the only way that you could loosen it to that point was you have to use tools. So you think Dan Moore did that? And because that's what they're trying to say, is he loosened it, he intentionally loosened it because he was trying to commit suicide through a natural gas leak. Because he felt guilty then that he killed Brian Drake. And so then he tried to kill himself via a natural gas leak. Has anybody ever? Meanwhile, Dr. Moore has an alibi witness who's passed polygraph. And poor Dr. Moore, when asked questions, he too was interviewed the first time and it wasn't recorded. Then they come back to interview him on May 6th of 2020. And they want to talk to him about this gas leak. Not very, very little about Brian Drake. And he's like, Van Leeuwen says, yeah, we think that someone's out here trying to take out all of our chiropractors. And he's like, oh, you think they were after me too? Like, he's like, what? He's like, yeah, about that gas leak. He's like, oh, I don't know. I was gassed out. Like, and you can just see the answers that this man is giving are in this recording because they recorded that. And it's like Dan Moore doesn't have a clue that these guys are seriously looking at him like he is the killer. He's just sitting there answering these questions so like, oh God, yeah, my wife thought I've almost died 3 times. My wife's ready to kill me. Like, I put her through the ringer so many times. He's just sitting there, but like talking like your grandpa would talk to you. You know what I mean? Like telling you stories, and you're just like, what the hell what are you talking about? He's just like da 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 like, and he's like, yeah, I don't even know Dr. Drake. I've never even met the man. Never met the man. Oh, you've never met him? No. So you didn't have a problem with like him being here? What? My practice is completely different, and I'm as busy as I want to be. I'm on my way out. You know what I mean? I'm older and I'm on my way out. It just listening to that interview, I about fell over. And here's Van Leeuwen like, yeah, he's totally the man. Man, we need to put. I want everybody watching him. And yet 17 and 19-year-olds are lying to you. You guys don't go and get very important footage from surveillance cameras. And yet the widow is lying to you. But none of that matters. And yet 911 calls are missing, and they're not where they're supposed to be. But we're going to go after Dan Moore. Why? Money, land. It's a double payday. You got the $1 million life insurance check, and then before this could ever even get up off the ground, Jennifer Drake files a wrongful death suit in November of 2020, and this literally just it just had went to a preliminary hearing on November 2nd. And here's Jennifer Drake. Let me just, signing all over like, let's sue. Let's sue. Okay. You know what she wrote? She has this Facebook group, and she's like, you know what the civil courts are all for, guys? Civil courts are all for when the criminal justice system fails us. When the criminal justice system fails us, we use then civil courts to then go after people when the criminal courts fail us. That's what she writes in a post in her Facebook group. And I was reading this, and I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? Is she stupid? Because does she not even know that she filed her civil complaint before there was ever even an opportunity for the criminal case to like either work or not work? So it wasn't like Dan Moore's case got tossed and then she wrote that ridiculous shit and then filed a lawsuit. She filed a civil suit before the criminal justice system could ever fucking have a chance to work or didn't work. So I'm just like, what a dumbass. Just a complete narcissist, man. This woman, and I'm telling you, she thinks she's good. She's good. She knows what she's doing. She's good. But she's not good enough. She's not good enough. And it's literally going to be like watching Jen McCabe 2.0 on that stand. If and in fact all of you guys get to see what I hope that you guys get to see and what you deserve to see. According to Jennifer, the city of Bonners Ferry and the community is owed this. And I believe that there's a public interest in this case, and I believe that it would outweigh Jennifer Drake saying, I don't want cameras in that courtroom. I don't think she has a leg to stand on if you use her own words against her. And I think that there needs to be cameras in that courtroom, and Dr. Moore needs to get on it, and I'm telling you to get cameras in that courtroom. Dr. Moore has a right for the public to see what the fuck they did to him. And like I said, and Jennifer Drake says that she wants, the public has an interest here. Jennifer Drake went out to the public and said all this shit and put a $10,000 reward on, saying that we know that it's him. We just need more. Come forward with more, and I'll give you 10 grand. Well, I came forward with way more, and it ain't looking good for you. But again,
tips and leads.
And they tell her, help me, Haley. They want justice. They will stop at nothing.
It's going to be a great trial. And I'll be live.
Small town community, closely knit.
Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
We've got a lot of family-oriented people, a lot of people that attend local churches.
The address for about 2,500, home of the Badgers. Nestled along the Kootenai River, the Selkirk Mountains almost serving as protectors from evil until they couldn't.
How did you find out what happened? I was on the phone with them when it happened.
Just like the community where murder victim Dr. Brian Drake would launch his successful chiropractor business.
His wife says he was wholesome, a man of God, loved music and family.
He was amazing. We had it all. We really did.
Brian and Jennifer married in '99. Love at first sight.
Oh, it was. Was it? Yes, we met at church.
Brian's career took them to Montana, Texas, and finally North Idaho, welcoming babies along the way.
We have 4. We have 3 boys and a girl. Very few people ever win the lottery like I did.
They had hit that sweet spot in life by the time Brian, Dr. Drake, opened up his own office along this stretch of Main Street in Bonners Ferry.
A great chiropractor, as opinion from his wife.
but also his patience.
Very compassionate. He helped me out a lot.
She didn't want her face on camera. Who could blame her after what happened on March 12th, 2020?
He was an innocent man who, sorry, who was killed at the end of a business workday.
While on the phone with his wife.
It's a memory of sitting next to my daughter when it happened, and I'm the one who had to call 911.
Responding officers found her husband of 21 years executed as he sat at his desk.
He did not know. It was behind him. Somebody shot him in the back through a window, and by the time he realized what had happened, the next step was unconsciousness.
A space once dedicated to healing turned the first murder scene in city limits since the early 1960s. And despite, as Jennifer calls it, diligent police work, 3 years later, the case remains open, in desperate need of perhaps you.
We really are hoping that somebody will come up with some more information to substantiate what we already know.
Billboards like this one along 95 are trying to appeal to whoever that could be.
We have a $10,000 reward.
Brian's face, front and center, a some 672 square foot reminder to the public of what already consumes Jennifer's mind.
As the saying goes, for evil to triumph, good men do nothing. And I believe that we owe it to my husband, and not just my husband, but my children and the community at large.
Right there, that's why it's
that something is done.
Right there, that's why this should be public. It should be broadcast. Right there, she says the public has an interest, and you're damn right we do. We have an interest in how bad the police have twisted and hid the facts of this case, have tampered with evidence, have fabricated stories, have conveniently left out recordings, conveniently tried to get rid of surveillance cameras, all for what? Because nobody could truly know what the hell this man was involved with, who he was involved with, and what the hell they were doing. And so we have to control this narrative, which is that he was shot because of a work thing. And that's exactly what they tried to do. Well, guess what? My name is Lana Oriani. This is Truth and Transparency. And that didn't happen. See you guys on the flip side. Go cry some more, Bonner's Ferry. You guys know who you are, the criers. Maybe you guys should be asking yourselves and looking in the mirror. You guys should be demanding these answers, and this should be a public case and trial. And show up. Show up. I can't wait to see who's on the damn jury.